Welcome travelers to Game Lore, where we dissect and discuss our favorite gaming worlds and narratives. I am Hassan, your lore master, and humble guide to these infinite universes where we deep dive into character backstories, plot recaps, world building, and so much more.
To all agents of Overwatch. That's not right. To the former agents of Overwatch.
Today we're talking about one of the leading team FPS games, Overwatch. Unlike other games in this genre, Overwatch really focused on developing an exciting world and establishing detailed character backstories, which in my opinion doesn't really translate well into the game because there's no story mode and you just end up playing multiplayer with 7 Genjis, and that really breaks the story immersion for me. But back to the point. Even if Overwatch wasted an excellent storytelling opportunity, they do make up for it in other content. Their phenomenal video trailers are amazing and can be movies on their own. They even have comic books and novels covering key events and characters. And with Overwatch 2 recently coming out, let's get into what the Overwatch story is all about. Now, to understand the formation of this iconic peacekeeping force, we have to dial back about 30 years to a war that almost completely erased humanity, the Omnic Crisis. In the Overwatch universe, and I guess in our universe too, robots were created as basically free labor that wouldn't complain and would just work forever. Every capitalist dream, I guess. But in Overwatch, these robots, known as Omnics, gained sentience and effectively became another species coexisting with mankind. That is until a god-tier AI took control of the Omnics and launched a global campaign of kill all humans. Now, the world was not prepared to face this kind of assault, and countries began to fall one by one. The casualties were in the millions, and there was no coordinated effort to stop this threat. This is when the United Nations came up with the brilliant plan of forming a task force of specialists, and thus Overwatch was born. Now, Overwatch didn't only have soldiers, but also engineers, scientists, freethinkers, you name it. And they succeeded. Overwatch was able to disable the Omnic factories and the AI, effectively rendering their armies useless. The world was saved and an era of unprecedented peace began. मगर ये किस तरह की स्टोरी हुई अगर सब कुछ ऐसे ही ठीक ठाक खत्म हो जाए? नहीं जी, एक्चुअल स्टोरी तो अब शुरू होती है. After the war, Overwatch worked on many humanitarian projects all over the planet, helping the world rebuild. They combated terrorist forces, rogue Omnics, basically kept the world peace. Their scientists even worked on climate change and food scarcity. काश हमारी दुनिया में भी कुछ ऐसा हो रहा होता. But eventually, all good things come to an end, and Overwatch became too big and powerful for its own good. There were allegations of corruption and unethical conduct, like influencing world leaders. Basically, जिस मकसद के लिए Overwatch बनी थी, वो अब खत्म हो चुका था, and they were beginning to lose the public's favor. But there were few events that really destroyed Overwatch's reputation and led to its end. अफवाहें फैलना शुरू हुई कि Overwatch अपने आप को एक पीस कीपिंग फोर्स तो कहते हैं, मगर उनके हथियार और तौर तरीके इतने पीसफुल नहीं हैं. And these allegations proved to be true because a covert ops squad actually was formed from within Overwatch called Blackwatch. Now, Blackwatch took on those missions that were deemed too ugly and too violent but were necessary to save the world but could not actually be revealed to the public. But eventually, these rumors became harder and harder to ignore, and in a botched mission that resulted in a very public assassination, Blackwatch's existence was revealed to the entire world. The United Nations did not have any other option but to declare all these actions extremely illegal, and they actively disbanded Overwatch. This is the darkest part of the story. Without Overwatch in place, there was a power vacuum which violent forces and terrorist organizations quickly filled. Global tensions all over the world began to rise again, and there was a lot of hatred against the Omnics too, even though they had been living in peace since the war and were practically victims themselves. Even old Overwatch facilities were targeted and destroyed, and overall scene काफी bad था. In one such raid, terrorist forces were trying to steal old Overwatch tech, but they were stopped by one of the original members, Winston, who is also incidentally a super genius gorilla who had made that base his home. After stopping their attack in its tracks, Winston was able to put out a call for all old Overwatch members to come back and reform the peacekeeping force because there was definitely a bigger conspiracy at hand and the world had need of its heroes.
Monsieur, does this mean Overwatch is back?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Well, that's the background of the Overwatch universe. The really cool thing is that the Overwatch creators leave this room for the fans to come up with their own theories and fill in the gaps. It's really rare and awesome to see this level of community integration and really highlights the RPG vibes of the game. If only they had made a story mode. To catch up on more of the story, I would highly recommend watching all of the video shorts and definitely reading the comic book series as well. If you have the time, you can get into the novels, but the other media is definitely not to be ignored. And that's it for this time on Game Lore. If you like this deep dive into honestly one of the coolest sci-fi universes around, please like and subscribe to our channel. If you have any favorite Overwatch characters or moments you want to share with us, or just recommend what game we should cover next, please mention that in the comments below. Until then, I'm Hassan, and may your story keep unfolding.